Welcome to The Digital Forge, the podcast where we explore how technology, innovation, and people reshape industry and shape the future of this region. I'm David Richards. My guest today is Dr. Carolina Scarton. Carolina is a senior lecturer in natural language processing at the University of Sheffield and one of Britain's leading researchers in artificial intelligence, misinformation, and online trust. Her research sits at the intersection of language, technology, and society. She worked on major UK and European research programs, including EMIF and Vigilant, helping governments, journalists, and researchers understand how misinformation spreads, how large language models influence public debate, and how artificial intelligence might ultimately help defend truth rather than undermine it. AI is changing almost everything around us, but today's conversation isn't really about just AI. It's about something much older, much more fragile: truth. Truth, and whether we're still recognizing it either in 10 years' time. Before we begin, please follow The Digital Forge on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Carolina, welcome.
Thank you.
Before we dive into this really fascinating subject of AI, misinformation, social media, and so on, which I have to say, I've been really looking forward to this for a while. Let's a little bit about you. So, I know that you grew up in Brazil,
Yes.
and we're going to get onto something that we've just been discussing that I think is really interesting. So, just tell us about childhood. Where did you grow up, and what were you interested in as a kid, and all of that stuff?
So I grew up in a small town in the countryside of the state of São Paulo in Brazil. So when I say countryside, it's about 5 hours from São Paulo city. So the state of São Paulo alone is twice the size of England. So
Yeah.
that's the scale that we're talking about. It is a small town, around 45,000 people. And I was quite lucky that my parents were quite supportive, and they thought education was very good, regardless of me being a woman, because there was this kind of, in Brazil, there is still this kind of girls, boys.
Machismo sort of stuff.
Yes, and mainly a lot of my friends didn't have the same opportunity because the parents just didn't support them.
When you say support, does that mean supporting you to continue education and to do a career versus you're supposed to go and get married to somebody and all of that stuff?
Yes, something like that. But even when I was a child, my dad has always liked engineering and maths and stuff, and I have the same kind of liking, and my mom also liked as well. So he used to give me some puzzles and some small maths tests to solve, which made me like more like STEM kind of subjects than anything else. But yeah, of course, when growing up and when I was a teenager, in Brazil we have education system that is similar to the US.
Yeah.
So we have up until like the 8th, 9th year, and then we go to high school.
Yeah.
So when I did my high school, I already did in a school that was a technical kind of preparation. So I did informatics, even from high school level.
Wow.
And that was, of course, this school was in a different city, so I need to travel every day. And my parents, of course, facilitated all that. But yeah, when I was a child, I liked maths a lot, but I also liked language. I liked Portuguese quite a lot, so I was a bit of a weirdo.
Yeah.
I like maths and Portuguese. Who are you?
How many different languages can you speak then?
I can only speak 2, unfortunately.
But you can. My wife speaks Spanish fluently.
Yeah.
So she can understand Portuguese, but
Yeah.
can't read Portuguese. I presume you can understand Spanish, but yeah, the other way
Yes,
around.
I can understand Spanish. I can read Spanish. I can speak Spanish.
Okay.
I know a little bit of German, but very, very little. Know how to count and some basics on how to order stuff. And yeah, and I started, for whatever reason, I started at some point learning Scottish Gaelic. Just out of curiosity.
So you're interested in language, and did you also develop an interest in computers as well? Because you obviously combine these two things together.
Yes. So, as I said, I was very good in Portuguese and I was very good in maths. So I didn't know back then, but the right path ended up being what I'm doing today, that is working with language and computers. I did computer science so I did the informatics and I did computer science as my bachelor's.
Where did you study? Where did you do your undergraduate?
So my undergraduate was on a city in Brazil called São Carlos, and the university is the University of São Paulo, that is one of the best in Brazil. But the campus is São Carlos, so it's not on the main city. It is actually in the countryside still, which for me is great. I'm a little bit scared of the main city.
Well, I mean, São Paulo is for my geography O level is the largest city in the southern hemisphere, isn't it?
Yes,
Enormous.
Yes, it's something crazy. Like I think last I checked, it's something between 20 million to 30 million people, all at the same place. And,
wow,
definitely not my jam.
Yeah. So, before we get into more of the natural language processing and all of that, I happen to know, because you've just told me, that you have a trophy that's rather special in your house.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
So my granddad used to love football and played football at amateur level in the city of Bauru, that is also in the countryside of Brazil. And he happens to play with the one and only Pelé. When Pelé was still, according to my granddad, still a boy, because my granddad was much older than Pelé. And Pelé and his family was living in that city at the time, and they just realized that boy was really good. So they invited him to play with the older man. And I have this trophy. I don't think it is like the first place. It is second place, but still, Pelé's name is on it.
I mean, to football supporters like me and James over there, this is like the most incredible story. And to feel like we're 1 degree away from the greatest footballer ever is like incredible.
I always found this story fascinating, and my granddad was kind of humble about it, and didn't really put too much importance to it. And that trophy was on the top of a very old fridge on the back of the house, getting all the dust and stuff. And when my granddad passed, they started, of course, cleaning the house and dividing his stuff. And I said, well, I cannot have any of the physical things because I'm miles away, but if I can have the trophy. And then I got a bid for the trophy and I have it.
So I also have something that belonged to Pelé, because when before he died, they were auctioning some of his artifacts.
Yeah.
And when Santos came to Sheffield Wednesday in the 1960s, I think it was, they presented him with a tankard with Sheffield on it. And I bought that from him.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that sits in my office today. So I have, even though I never saw him play, and the famous World Cup in 1970, I was born in 1970. I never even saw him on TV play. Amazing. I mean,
I don't think we have had anyone to that level, really. I mean, we have good players. People talk a lot about Maradona. People talk about a lot about Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, and now Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi.
Yeah.
But seeing him play back in the day is just.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's impossible sometimes to compare, but I remember people used to be able to. I mean, some of the tattles that you see from the 1950s, 1960s, you go to prison for it now.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't imagine. I mean, in the 1966 World Cup, he was kicked out of it by the Germans. I mean, it was just horrible.
Yeah.
But he very, very special. Amazing. And of course, played in the United States in the whatever it was called before the MLS. He played there as well. So incredible. And we are actually recording this on the day that England are playing against DR Congo. And
Yes.
I suspect we might, by the time this goes out, England will have probably crashed out of the World Cup awfully, and Brazil might well have won it. So are you watching the World Cup?
Yes, I am. When the World Cup started this year, I was actually in Brazil, and there is a big thing. So me and my mom, my family, we were watching almost every single match every day, which is crazy. But yeah, we watch.
Is it a religion there? Does it feel like that kind of thing? Is it?
I feel like I think it depends on who you are and where you are as well. But my family is quite into football, and my dad is a big supporter of Corinthians.
Oh, the Corinthians, okay.
Yeah, which is probably very similar to Sheffield Wednesdays in some sense.
Yeah. What, you mean constantly disappoint?
It is for the strong people that have a strong heart, because if you don't... but yeah...
it's the hope that kills you, yeah.
Yeah, it is a big thing in Brazil for sure. And I have a cousin, a 7-year-old cousin, and she is all in World Cup.
Oh, wow.
This year. It's her first World Cup. So you can see that kind of hope on her eye that Brazil is going to do well and it's going to win. And it's really fascinating. I think that's probably how I look, when Brazil won the 1994.
Yeah.
Because I was 7 as well. And I remember quite a lot of those days. So, yeah.
Before you came in, actually, I was debating whether to talk about football. We have this thing where we just assume everybody from Brazil must love football, soccer, was just absolutely obsessed with it. I thought, I'm not going to do that. And then when you sat down, you told me that your grandfather used to play with Pelé. That's it. Like I'm then all in to talking about football. Anyway, we need to get back to, but I have to say, I've just got back from New York, where I went to the World Cup, and
Amazing,
Brazil supporters were absolutely, I mean, it is on a different level, the Colombians, the Brazilians in particular, and I have to say the Scots as well, in New York and Boston. It was extraordinary. Really.
They love to party as well.
Oh, so, my God. Yeah. Yes.
That's why the Brazil basically adopted Cabo Verde.
Yeah.
And it has been a big thing in Brazil because they speak the same language and so on. And it is really good.
Yeah. Although I have to say the Scots are one of the images that I saw in Boston was the owner of a pub that's like attached to the brewery coming out and saying, I'm sorry, but the Scots have drunk all the beer. And they'd literally, and he pointed at the brewery and said, we have none left.
They're not prepared. They're not prepared.
Yeah. Well, it's the first time the Scots have been there for a long time, and they made the absolute most of it.
Yeah, so they should.
So we talked about that you studied computer science, and that you have a love and interest in languages, and you brought those things together. How did that happen?
As most things in life, by chance. So when I started my degree, funnily enough, I had like a plan in mind. I wanted to work for a big company, and I wanted to be a software developer and all these kind of things. And then in Brazil, when you're doing your undergraduate, they have a very nice kind of program for initiating people in science. So it's called scientific initiation. So it's basically a scientific project that we develop with a supervisor. And there is like quite good money paid as scholarships for students. So I decided that I want to do one of that, also because I come from a rather poor family and I need to help support myself at a different city. And back then, I started with a friend, we started talking about these ideas of, we could do something with text and so on, but we didn't know exactly what. And then we went to talk to the people that worked with natural language processing at the university. We didn't have much idea. Back then, my idea was, oh yeah, I want to work with robotics, but whatever. And I just really liked the area. I really liked that you could work with linguists quite a lot and learn more about language. And I found it a bit fascinating and frustrating how difficult it was.
Yeah.
So that's how I started back in 2008.
Yeah. Wow.
So almost 20 years now.
Wow. So we're going to come back to NLP in a natural language processing in a second, but I'm curious as to how you go from the countryside near Sao Paulo to Sheffield.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause it seems like quite a leap. How did you end up in Sheffield?
Yeah, it's one thing after the other. So as I said, I think one thing needs to be said here that is quite important. So I come from a poor background, so growing up wasn't easy. My parents always prioritized education for us, but I always got... so in Brazil, it's different from the system here. I always went to public school. They are considered not as good.
Yeah.
So I always went to public school. Even the technical school that I got to, I needed to do like a test to get in, and only like the first 60 people get into it. So I managed to get, and so on. So I worked really hard, but I had a lot of help on the way.
Yeah.
So when I was applying for this test to get into the high school place, for example, I had teachers that gave me extra homework.
Yeah.
So out of their own, like, free time, they helped me. When I got to that place, a lot of the teachers as well helped the students that wanted to go beyond and didn't have the means. Then I got into university, and my supervisor on this scientific initiation project basically became my mentor, my friend, and she helped me a lot, even financially, borrowing me money and stuff, so I could go to places. I could go to conferences.
Was that a lecturer at the university?
Yeah, she was a lecturer at the university,
Okay.
and she basically adopted me.
Yeah.
and helped me navigate all this space. So when it always started, because I did my undergrad under her supervision on this scientific initiation project. Then I did my master's in Brazil as well, with her as my supervisor. And the Brazilian, there is a Brazilian funding agency that is only for the state of São Paulo. And they started when I was at my last year of my the last year of my master's. They started doing some kind of specific scholarships for people to go abroad.
Yeah.
And do an internship. So I wanted to go to the US because that's where some of the people that were working with things that I was working with were, but it wasn't an option back then. I don't fully remember why. So I sent a message out of the blue to someone in Cambridge. That was the second option. And I was like, this person never replied. And she replied.
Wow.
So now her name is Professor Ana Corronen, and I'm eternally grateful to her. Because she replied, yes, you can come. So that's me. Back then, I think I had only traveled abroad once. That was to Argentina.
Yeah.
And I had barely left my state.
How old were you at this point?
I was 23, I think.
Okay.
And yes, I had barely traveled or done anything. And suddenly I am in the UK. And back then as well, my English was terrible, and I couldn't really speak much, but you just go and do this stuff. And what's supposed to be a 4 month internship became a 5-month internship because they extended for an extra month because I loved it.
Yeah.
I just loved this country for, I don't know why. I felt like I should have been born here. It's really odd to say, but I like the weather. Sorry.
Yeah, you really do.
I really do.
Wow.
I feel a bit guilty because everybody hates it, but I really like the weather. So when I finished that internship, I went back to Brazil to finish my degree, but then I didn't belong there anymore. I needed to come back. And again, funnily enough, when you start, when you are in a good university like I was in Brazil, one of their former students was already a lecturer here, and she was advertising for a position in Sheffield,
Okay.
PhD position in Sheffield, fully funded and so on. So that's how I came to work with her, and it was great, and that's how I ended up in Sheffield.
That's quite what's interesting is that we hear this a lot, that there is usually one person in somebody's life at that intersection when you can go maybe in two directions.
Yeah.
Makes this difference, because if you don't know it's feasible to do something, like, you need somebody to tell you that it's feasible for you to go and study in the United States, United Kingdom, or to even. I suspect that she told you that you could do that you were good enough to do a master's.
Yes.
But was she the reason that you did the master's and you went on this journey?
I don't think that would be of course, my supervisor definitely helped, but I think my parents are more like, mainly my mom. My dad as well, my dad definitely, they both are, but they both are the reason why I achieved high in education. My mom probably more the reason why I am here, while my dad and we have like this kind of father-daughter connection, and he probably would hope that I was still there.
Yeah.
But of course he's very proud. But I think my parents are the main driver. And of course, this former supervisor in Brazil, Sandra, was extremely helpful. My supervisor here, Lucy Specia, as well, was amazing. I had this kind of luck to find the right person on the right moment of my life, and that enabled me to do stuff. But I also had that kind of weird drive that if by any chance someone look at it and tell me, oh, but why you want to do it, it's difficult, that's when I want to go and do it, if that makes sense. I remember when I was, something that caught my mind, as I said, my hometown is quite of the mentality is still a bit weird for women. And I remember one of my good friends back then saying, oh, why do you want to do university? Why, you should stay here and take care of your parents. Per your parents, you're not, you don't feel for them. And like...
Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I have a brother.
Is he stayed in the town, or?
Yeah, he stayed there.
Okay.
He's still there. He did biology, so completely different kind of setting. But my brother is completely different from me, and I guess that shows. Like, if my parents didn't treat us the same way and treated me as, oh, you need to stay here, marry, and never go to university, we would both be really unhappy, because my brother doesn't have the kind of drive of education and so on. He did really well, but it wasn't as crazy as I am.
So have your parents ever been to the
Yes,
UK?
They came in 2017 for my wedding.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
What was that like?
It was amazing, yeah. We did a really small wedding, so that was perfect. It was a very good day. and of course, there is many stories with that probably not interesting for everybody else. But they came in 2017 for my wedding. Then it was everything set for them to come around 2020, but then something happened in 2020, and then they couldn't come, and they are coming now in August. This August, yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Hopefully to celebrate the Brazilians winning the World Cup.
Well, you never know.
So let's just go back to natural language processing. So there's 1,000,001 different definitions of it, but how do you define it? What is NLP? What's that all about?
I think in very lay terms is how to teach machines to process language as we speak. So it's not about the machine language. So it's not about coding. It's not about zeros and ones. It's about how can the machine get a text that we say or that we write, process it, and do something with it. Or even, nowadays, even more important, how machines can generate text as well. So it's all about how machines interact with text mainly. We usually treat speech processing as a separate area because there is also signal processing and so on. But yeah, in very lay terms, is how to teach machines how to speak like us.
So, speaking of generative AI, you just mentioned it, and when we use large language models like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, etc., it feels like the computer understands language. Does it?
Not really. So understanding, and I think I was having a very interesting discussion with a colleague at the University of Sheffield yesterday about how we try to anthropomorphize like this kind of models. And understanding is something that humans do.
Yeah.
Reasoning is something that humans do. We researchers are very, very guilty as well of using those words because they are buzzwords. So we need funding, we need attention, so we use those words. But understanding is something that is something deeper, I would say. And if you ask people in linguistics, psychology, they would probably agree with me to such extent. What these models do actually is they are trained on a lot of data, and they have, imagine if you have like a lot of data, but you also have a lot of way of storing this data and using probabilities and calculations to predict what is the most likely outcome.
Yeah.
So it's just a big computer with loads and loads of data. So when you prompt or say something to ChatGPT, for example, and it replies something to you, that something came out of a lot of calculations that's the most probable kind of answer to that question.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that the model is understanding anything, even though it sounds like very human-like. It doesn't have the kind of a capacity that we have to understand a topic and connect stuff in our brain and understand emotions, understand all the nuances that come with a question.
That's really well put. I wouldn't have expected anything different from you. That's really amazingly well put. I'm just going to dig into some of these things a little bit deeper. So we talk about AI hallucinating. Do you actually even like that term? And what does that really mean?
Yeah, so hallucination is also a term that we scientists are guilty of. So in AI terms or generative AI terms, hallucination means when the model start output things or words or phrases that are not related to the input.
Yeah.
or may be related, but not necessarily accurate.
Yeah.
So that's what we call hallucination. So, for example, if I prompt the model to say, oh, what is the best restaurant in Sheffield to go out with my husband, the model may say, oh, the best restaurant in Sheffield is X, Y, and Z because of this, and then may start saying something about the restaurant. Let's say, imagine it's an Italian restaurant. Then it start, oh, they serve a good carbonara, they serve a good spaghetti bolognese, and then when you go to see what the restaurant actually serves, there is nothing there.
Yeah.
So basically the model hallucinated just because, oh yeah, it's an Italian restaurant, so it should serve this kind of traditional meals. So that's the hallucination part. In this case, it's a very silly example, but it can happen with anything.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're going to talk a little later, I suspect, about putting guardrails in to prevent that stuff from happening and what's going to happen in the future. And actually, today of all days, I just saw the news that Mythos has finally been, the US government have finally lifted the restrictions this morning on that, which is, that's a whole other. So can computers understand humor?
Humor?
Yeah.
Again, understanding is a very deep kind of phenomena that, in my opinion, other scientists may disagree, but in my opinion, only humans can do. Understanding is something human-like. What computers may do with humor is, again, they go to that idea of the most probable answer or the most probable action on a certain situation. And if the most probable action is, oh, this is related to humor, they may actually reply with, along the same lines or pretending to be sarcastic or, being very human-like. But understanding is, I don't think so. The way that the technology behaves is very statistical, is very based on probability. So there is no understanding really.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying is at the moment it's complex statistical patterns that we are looking at. So for a computer to understand humor and sarcasm and emotion, what would need to happen? What would bridge that gap? And is that going to be a good thing or a bad thing?
I think that to understand, in order to achieve understanding for a computer, we probably need a different paradigm.
Yeah.
So what we have at the moment, as I said, is data computing power. Basically, what we see is a mimic of all the data that were inputted to those models and the connections of that data. So the machine basically learned the connections that we, or scientists or model developers, put inside the data. Nothing more. So whenever there is humor, sarcasm, and so on, it's because that was in the data somehow, or the machine may be able to extrapolate a bit and connect some other bits all together. However, in order to get pure understanding, we need to bridge, we need to change how those things are created and trained, because only with statistics and even with what they call reinforcement learning, that they tell the model when the model is right or wrong, and then keep continuing the training, I don't think that is enough to enable understanding. So I don't know. We're probably looking into some different models of neuroscience and things more, very different from what we have nowadays.
So in the past, 20 years ago, computers were very different things to what they are now.
Yeah.
The big birth of the internet and all that. But they are writing essays and are better than humans, arguably, I think, certainly at writing software. business plans, novels. But what changed from a computer not being able to do that to a computer being able to do that? Was there a breakthrough? What happened to make that happen?
I think is a combination of things. So one of them definitely started with computer power.
Yeah.
So there was a huge development in hardware. So now we have GPUs that we can actually run very large processes. The other thing was a big investment from the private sector into data centers, into those large, big farms that that have tons of computer power. So these two things. The other thing is computer power plus data. So what all those models have is a lot of data, and this comes with the availability of data.
Yeah.
So how easy it is to get data from the internet nowadays and mine all that.
Yeah.
There is also the other side of it is us citizens as also generators of data in social media. So we put a lot there. There is also mined to those models. So data, if I could say, summarize it a bit, it would be data and computer power. But of course, there is also development on the algorithm to actually enable all this, or let's say the software technology, let's call this, or the models. So up until 2013, 15 more or less, we didn't work with what we call neural networks or deep learning. They are very old principles and technologies, but we didn't have enough computer power or some of the good combinations or the good use of it wasn't there. From 2015 onwards, it's when we saw this boom of people using more neural networks, and in 2019 we started with the transformer models, or 2017 even transformer models, and this what we call the transformer models.
Just explain what a transformer model
right
is.
In a very 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 late terms. Back when we started with the simpler model of a neural network for processing language, we just used the concept that words may be connected because they appear together or they appear close to each other.
Yeah.
That's fine until you need order on your sentence. Whenever you're constructing a sentence, the order of the word matters.
Yeah.
It's not only about whether they appear together. You need order. So in order to do that, they started talking about attention. So basically, is in order to generate a sentence, I need to attend, or I need to put more attention to a certain word of my input.
Yeah.
What the transformer model did, among a lot of other things, is introduce the concept of multi-head attention. So basically now they could attend to many parts of a sentence or a text. And also they were taking into account order and so on. So it's basically a big engineering kind of hack that they put together many, many layers of these neural networks, and suddenly it works. As everything is in engineering, sometimes you just test stuff and ended up working. So they started with this kind of more complex models, and this is basically the backbone of any large language model that we have today. So they are basically a bunch of these transformers components stacked together.
Where did that research come from? Who?
The transformer model. I remember the paper. It's called Attention is All You Need. It's a very good title, by the way.
All right, okay.
And I remember the last author, because we cited the paper, is Vasvani. I think, I'm not sure whether it's Google or, but I think it's a big technology. The next step of let's say, the transformer that was the BERT model.
Yeah.
That is basically part of the transformer stacked together, many of this, and then we get a good language model. That was Google technology. But yes, a lot of it has been driven by big tech, so it's good, but also a problem.
Yeah, we'll get on to why big tech, and when you big tech, we're talking about companies like Google and Facebook and so on. It strikes me with AI as well, the amount of processing, the exponential growth in processing requirements, which we have because we're using silicon chips to do this, it's electrons, which means electricity. I think the biggest breakthrough potentially that we're going to see is the move to photons, to photonic to light-based chips. I mean, I've seen a company called Lumai actually in spin out from the University of Oxford that seem to have developed this technology, which they say reduces power requirements by about 95% and hence cost. That could unleash a whole new opportunity in AI. Do you think we're going to get to artificial general intelligence anytime soon?
I guess, funnily enough, my question would be, what's artificial general intelligence?
Yes, okay, let's start. I'm guilty of this myself. I assume everybody knows. But yes, so when I went to university and we talked about AI, it was the ability for computers to reason and think.
Yeah.
Right. So that definition changed somehow, which I still find really frustrating because when this is not AI, in my opinion, this is something else. So just talk about those differences and what you think artificial general intelligence is.
Yeah. So it's really weird because people talk, as you said, in the past, they talk about AI, and then AGI came as well as something to say, oh, yeah, we have AI, but we don't have AGI.
Yeah.
And then it is a bit of a weird one. So the way that I understand what they define as AGI would be machine that can actually think by itself, understand and act, right? Again, think, understanding are very like human inherent capabilities. So we humans, we are a complex kind of machine, and all we have is a combination of morals, combination of being able to read the room, being able to have emotions, empathy, and a lot of other complex things. So a lot of what we are is based on how our upbringing, our cultural values, our understanding of how society should be. Whether we can teach this to a machine that will go beyond those statistical decisions and somehow be able to overwrite a most probable output based on some kind of cultural, moral, God knows what. I'm a bit skeptical. I'm not saying it's impossible, because nothing is impossible, but with the kind of technology that we have now, I don't think it is possible in this sense. So if you think about how they add some kind of safeguards, I know we're going to talk about it later, but how they add some safeguards now, it's just rules. They basically tell the machine, if you see this, don't act.
Yeah, it's kind of hard-coded in it, isn't it?
It's a kind of hard code. And it's even worse because I was in Dublin last week on a workshop, and there was someone there that worked with these big tech companies as a linguist, as someone that speaks multiple languages. And she was saying that her job was they were given prompts and outputs. And all they needed to do was to say whether that the output was inappropriate or not. For them, the developers write those hard code stuff. So whether it was toxic, whether it was there was some kind of bias or there was some kind of hate speech, or she said there was like a big, massive list of things that they need to look for.
You see, this is a good example of the early criticism of bias in AI models, because that is down to a human deciding that.
Yeah.
And that is usually, we are choosing people from Silicon Valley to usually, I mean, these models were originally built there, that's made that decision. So the bias is naturally a demographic bias, because the people making that decision are just arbitrary.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I remember seeing the old HSBC ads where they used to pointing out differences in culture. So, you know, they had some insect and this is a delicacy in Indonesia or something, but here you'd want to kill it, you know, so things are different. That's really, really, really interesting.
Yeah. And there is a big kind of discussion around it as well, because whenever they hire people to do this kind of job, annotation kind of job, not everybody's well paid. There is a lot of outsourcing to Africa, paying very, very low salaries. And at the same time, showing very horrendous content to these people and exposing them to a lot of hate speech, a lot of toxic content and so on. So it's a horrendous kind of job. Mainly when you go, imagine text is bad enough, but if you go to the multimodal side, with the possibilities that those things can generate, things get really, really bad. So there is a full debate around all the social aspects of those models as well, and things that most people don't even know they are there, because those models don't work by chance. They need a lot of human intervention still. It's just hidden there somewhere.
Yeah, that's interesting. That it is something I'd completely missed. You just opened my eyes to it, actually, that what we're talking about is data tagging, essentially, right? That's called in the trade. And, I remember back in the day that there was a team in Poland, I think it was somewhere in Eastern Europe, that were doing analysis for the Siri, and they had to listen to conversations, and sometimes there was crimes being committed, and awful, horrendous things happening, and they had to listen to all of this stuff, which is, it's the side of it that we don't kind of think about. Maybe we don't want to think about it, but it is there, and so I think very interesting conversation, because it feels to me like we're being marketed that these models currently are something that they're not. They're very good at writing computer software right now. There was a changeover in November last year with Claude Code that it was better than, and all of our companies here use Claude Code.
Yeah.
And we are not hiring, software engineers like we used to. Just on that, do you think that there will be a job in the way that there is now for a software engineer?
Well, that's an interesting question, and it is something that slightly worries me a bit, because a lot of the innovation in technology and the creation of new programming languages that enable different advances were created by software engineers or people that, liked to code, that understand the code, that understand not only how to code on a language, but also how the computer works. If we start focusing a lot on telling people just how to code with Claude or whatever, we are losing that kind of person. But answering to your question directly, I think the job of the software engineer is changing and is going to change. now people are going to be working with prompts more than directly coding, which is fine for most of the things that the companies need. But I am a bit concerned of what that means for higher education on computer science, for instance, whether we are going to move to teach them how to code with all these tools, or whether we should still focusing on the basics and telling them how to code from scratch. There's two sides of it.
No, I agree. And I have this thing where I tell people that AI compounds productivity and intelligence and stupidity at the same rate. Because if you don't know what you're doing, it actually makes you 25 times worse.
Yeah.
If you do know what you're doing, it makes you 25 times better. But I think ultimately to code using Claude Code, which most people use, it's like the conductor of an orchestra, because the conductor has to be able to read music and play the instruments as well. And if you can't, then you can't just drag somebody from the street and say, right, do this. And that's so we have to find a way to still teach the skills. How to do mathematics, even in the advent of having a calculator and a computer. You still need to know how to do the maths.
And I think it becomes there is also a side that is related to the security of the code, right? Because when you write your code from scratch, you know exactly what it's doing. When you are reviewing a code, it's a different kind of process in your mind. So you may miss some line there that is basically a security breach. And what happens? Who is liable? And we start getting to a rabbit hole that you never come out of it.
It's a problem. I'm going to revisit higher education later with you and what the AI era means for that, because it is complicated. But I want to talk about truth. And I remember reading about a craze in 2004 where children genuinely believe that if you put a plastic toy called an alien egg into a freezer, that it would hatch a real alien, right? Which is crazy, right? It's absolutely ridiculous, completely false, but largely harmless, right? Probably a lot of very disappointed young children. But that wasn't really trying to influence an election or force Brexit. Nobody was making any money. We weren't trying to polarize a society. It was just kids being kids. So when did misinformation stop being harmless like that? When did it start to be a real issue, do you think?
I guess any kind of rumor, disinformation, or whatever you want to call, that people are profiting from it, is when things start. Either not only when people are profiting for it, but I think there are two cases when there is a way of harming someone, and when people are profiting for it. So this both usually goes together, not necessarily, but they usually go together. Plus, with the reach of social media, internet, and so on, this is the let's say the recipe for disaster, right? And that's when things start to become a bit more problematic. So, of course, in politics, there have always been half-truths. There have always been promises that they would do something and then never materialize. So that's not new, right? I think what is new is how persuasive things can be on social media. Or not only social media. When I maybe let's clarify that when I say social media, I'm not only talking about things like Facebook, X, or Instagram. I'm also considering things like WhatsApp, Telegram, that are closed environments. And I think the reach and the persuasiveness that you can put on this kind of channels is the key for how disinformation is being done nowadays and spread and so on. Because as you said, even when we are studying disinformation, there are some cases that it's not really harmful. So there are some stories that are not really harmful, but the problem is when it changes a bit. So I'm going to give an example. So there was a big kind of claim or rumor during the COVID times that if you eat a more alkaline diet, you would not get COVID. So there are, let's say, a lot of studies that there are benefits on alkaline diets. I don't know all the intrinsics of it, but this is a rumor that went over the world. So we saw in Portuguese, we saw in English, we saw in Spanish, we saw everywhere. Right. If people did an alkaline diet, would they die? Probably not. If they did that, but still had the vaccine and still don't everything else, fine. But if they did that instead of vaccine, or if they thought that, because I did that, I'm not going to catch the disease, so I don't need to do lockdown. So that's when things start to become a problem. So if it is just the claim on itself, it's not a problem, but the consequences is when things start to become... it's all complex because humans behave in complex ways. Yeah. And what these disinformation narratives are doing, they are playing with fear, they are playing with beliefs, they are playing with our minds. And
yeah, I mean, the thing that I found the most bizarre in COVID was I had to travel to the UK because my daughter was at university and we were living in California, and there was a stampede for toilet paper.
Yeah.
I mean,
why?
I was ordering wine. I thought we're going to run out of wine, so I had this massive shipment of wine coming. It's like people are fighting over toilet roll.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was toilet paper and meat for whatever reason. Meat was also, and I was vegan at that time, and it was, for me, it was fine because all the vegan food was left.
You go to the supermarket. Oh yeah, all the meat's gone and the toilet roll's gone.
Yeah.
But everything else is there.
Yeah. I think people still have bog rolls now from COVID time.
So a lot of people talk about AI changing misinformation. Mm-hmm. But is that actually the biggest change? Was social media, do you think, the biggest change?
Ooh, I think people have already been using AI for disinformation in certain ways.
Yeah.
Again, depending on how loose the definition of AI is. So deepfakes have been a thing for a while now, and people have been using that quite a lot for disinformation, mainly in countries like Brazil. There was a lot going on there. I think AI has a weird kind of, mainly now with this generative AI, large language models being really good, they have the potential of make whatever claim we want way more believable. Because as we were talking about, they are very good at writing something human-like.
Yeah.
And you can even add prompts now that sometimes I use AI on my work as well. And I have asked it or prompted to generate something, and then I look at it, this looks too much like AI. So I prompt it again, basically with make it less AI, or make it more human-like, or make it more adequate for whatever audience. And then it goes there and
changes the cadence, changes the sentences, some deliberate mistakes in.
Yeah, and then it becomes quite believable. So, yeah, I guess the potential that we have now, and something that we are studying, is AI being used as a just to create more and more of these narratives, more and more variations of those claims, adequate for different audiences. And I think that's where this new AI or generative AI can change the scenario, because AI has been, as I said, people have been using it in many, many different ways. The problem is when you start to localize this information and make it more and more close to the people.
we talked earlier about social media, and I know you've done a lot of work in this area. Social media has a reason to do this. Facebook has a reason, right? Because if somebody likes something, the stat used to be that you were 5 times more likely to purchase it if one of your friends said, "I like this," which is where the whole like thing comes from. I told you that we would have the discussion before we came on air that a friend of mine from Silicon Valley was the original data scientist at Facebook, and he built the algorithm that changed the news feed from being just data ordered to being manipulated by Facebook based on various things. And they did the happy, sad tests and all of that stuff. When social media started to do that, what was happening, and what impact has that had?
I think the key impact is that nowadays people are a bit more aware, but people didn't necessarily know what was going on. They still thought they were seeing things as on a traditional timeline where they see things as they are posted. So they thought that, oh, if I'm seeing more of this, is because a lot of people are actually doing this, right? And I guess that's fine, with a lot of safeguards, let's say, for ads. But when we start also manipulate content, right, that's when things start to become a bit more problematic. So there is this concept of echo chambers that we talk about in the literature. That is when, let's say, if you like dogs, we start seeing way more dogs on your timeline because you like dogs, and then a lot of people, you start only seeing content about dogs and not about cats. So that's the problem. That's a big problem, because a lot of people nowadays, let's say on Facebook, they have thousands of friends that they built over the years, because Facebook's there since ever.
Yeah.
But they only see the posts of a small minority that basically confirms what they believe, because those are the people that are more likely to press the like button. But how about all the other people that think differently? And, I think that becomes problematic. So this idea of trying to please your client, and you're pleasing your client too much, and basically hiding a full side of the other people that they are friends as well with, just because that's not profitable. And I guess for let's say the average person, the average citizen, the problem is people still don't know how it works.
I know.
And they start believing that most people believe like them, and there is nothing different from them. They are right, because look at all these people that think like me.
Yeah. Do you use social media yourself?
I do.
I bet you use it like I do, which is I don't scroll.
Yeah.
And like if I use X, I use search. I never ever use the feed.
Yeah, I use in different ways. So I have LinkedIn because it is the professional one, even though I hate the algorithm behind it, but I still use it from time to time. I go there, have a look on who is around.
What do you hate about the algorithm on LinkedIn?
It usually shows me stuff from many weeks ago, and that's already old news. I want to see more of what's coming up. So sometimes miss stuff because they're showing me old stuff, and it's just, it may work for people that are there every single day. I go at least maybe once a week, because that's when I can do. The one that I'm using more at the moment, of course, I use WhatsApp because that's the Brazilian way.
Yeah.
And in Brazil, WhatsApp's a crazy stuff. We can talk more about it later, but they do business on WhatsApp. Yeah.
My God.
It's all crazy.
Mind you, having said that, look at the news here. The MPs use it because every single time I have any discussion with anybody in government, they turn on disappearing messages. I mean, come on, seriously?
Yeah.
It's just default. That's what they do.
Yeah, but Brazil became the standard communication things, and you can order things on WhatsApp and you can do everything on WhatsApp.
Wow. Okay.
I use Instagram, and the only reason why I use Instagram, I have an alternate persona on Instagram. That's quite funny. I do martial arts.
Oh,
And I
what,
do
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
And I'm going back to competing, and I'm also teaching at the moment. So I have a Jiu-Jitsu profile on Instagram because there is a lot of people in Jiu-Jitsu community on Instagram as well. So it's where I go and I look at new techniques that people are doing, and I found about new events and so on. So
Okay.
but it's my Jiu-Jitsu related.
Yeah. Like I find myself, because I know how it works, and I find myself sometimes, and I stop myself, say, I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm not. Do you? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do that as well. I mean, I have a Facebook account, but I go there very rarely as well. Usually because the neighborhood where I live, they have a Facebook group.
Yeah.
And then from time to time, they post something about what is happening around.
The Facebook are clever because they do the marketplace.
Yeah.
And to go to the marketplace, if you want to buy something,
Yeah.
then you have to log into Facebook. Then you go, oh, look, so-and-so's been doing this. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, no, he's got me.
Yes. So I go very rarely, but I also ignore the feed. I also go to the group, from the group of the neighborhood, and just do that. But yeah, from time to time, and of course, sometimes I found something interesting and ended up clicking on it, and I'm like, oh, what have I done?
I know. Well, I remember I was doing an interview somewhere, and in 2005, I think it was, and I said one of the great crimes of our time is the greatest brains in my field
Yeah.
are being employed by social media to get me to click on an ad. And that is just, they're not, we're not trying to, do protein folding and solve, diseases.
Yeah.
Or, that they're actually commercially trying to get me to click on an ad.
Yeah.
And then I think something interesting happened, which was Cambridge Analytica.
Oh, yeah.
And we had a brief conversation prior to this, but that's when we realized, or some people realized, that information and social media could be weaponized. Just talk a little bit about what the Cambridge Analytica scandal was, who was doing it, and then what conclusions that kind of led to.
Yeah, so the way that I remember Cambridge Analytica, of course, it was Cambridge Analytica was a company that did advertising, mainly political advertising, and was hired by parties and individuals all over. They did what they called targeted advertising, and the part that wasn't, let's say, super legal was when they started getting data from people from Facebook and using that data on some kind of psychological model to identify what is the kind of message that specific person needs to vote for a certain candidate.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So it was a mix of some malicious actors working more or less together. So we had people from psychology that basically got an app, I think it was called back then, on Facebook, where people could do some kind of psychological test. And then this data, with this kind of data, there was a breach on Facebook on the way that they dealt with apps. So instead of only getting the data of that person that was participating on the test, let's say, they also got data from all the friends. And then with that massive amount of data and massive knowledge about specific people, they just started being able to send very tailored messages that again played with our psychological side or our beliefs on our culture of things. So why they should vote for a specific candidate. And that's why it was a big backlash. So the backlash actually came from getting data that they shouldn't have from Facebook as well. But also the way that they used the data was a bit controversial. That's the word that I wanted.
Do you think that this? I don't want this to be a leading question, but do you think that our democracy was hacked essentially?
I think it's a difficult thing to think about, because it's difficult to pinpoint what would happen without them, right? They definitely had an influence. They definitely influenced a lot of people that don't know they were influenced. And that's the problem, because social media is such part of people's lives, and they see those feeds over and over again. Perhaps just by seeing one of those ads, like, I don't know, once a day, was enough to put on the back of your head that that's true. And you don't know why it's true anymore. You just believe. And I think that's the key problem.
So you're saying it can be something, you don't even need to interact with it. You just need to see it for a split second.
Yeah.
And that may make you vote for Brexit or something.
Yeah. Well, that's... you just need to see for a split second over and over and over and over and over, right? So that is, I guess that's like... was the key principle of Nazi propaganda.
Yeah.
You get something that is not true, repeat many, many times until it becomes the truth. So I think a little bit of what these people did is similar to that. So flooding tailored information to these specific people. So it wasn't like political advertising where everybody sees it. It was just for that person.
So it's laser pointed. It's customized.
Yeah.
It knows how you are going to react when you see this.
Yeah. And it's not something that they can actually later on talk to someone or show to someone else. It was just for them. It was like as if they were seeing something made by someone that knows them.
Yeah.
So that's the key. But again, whether it's hacked or not, I think is a bit out of my depth to answer that one. But I think there are so many other factors.
Yeah, I remember being sat at my home in San Francisco, and I was watching on British TV the Brexit stuff happening. And I said, they're never going to vote for it. They're just the people like going to Spain on holiday too much and so on. And then I saw the Sunderland vote come. The very place, like at the very heart of that benefits the most from being in the European Union, said no, we don't want that. Yeah. And I thought, how on earth has that just happened?
Yeah.
And it's really, even now today, I will get criticized from even friends.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh, you can't say that, blah, 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 blah. Even though this is like a disaster for our economy, it's still, people still to this day
defend it,
believe it. And it's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to this day, there are different things if you look into the psychology of people. Some of them are still trying to find a way to justify their actions, because admitting that we are wrong is something that humans don't like to do.
Yeah.
So they are probably going to try to justify. But again, I think it's a bit more complex than just social media. I do believe that the social media had a major impact on that, for sure. However, I guess one thing is also how the UK vote and how the people actually put importance on that vote. So we see that there was a bigger, higher demographic of older people that voted than younger people.
Exactly.
And then every time I talk to younger people in this country, they are a bit, oh yeah, why bother? So there is this kind of a weird kind of a perception as well, while in other countries you see a bit different. So yeah.
It certainly didn't help, and Cambridge Analytica, thank goodness, was shut down.
Yeah.
And just who were the people behind that? Were they just like regular computer programmers, or were they geniuses?
I don't know much about their backgrounds. I know that one of the people were a very psychologist with a position in British University, while the others were probably very good business people. So yeah, you just need, basically in this kind of environment, we just need one person that to sway things one way or another, because sometimes computer scientists or any people, any scientists build something and then they sometimes are misled as well by one person that says, oh yeah, we can do something great with that, and then something great is not that great.
Yeah, that we were discussing this again previously, but and how AI could exponentially impact misinformation, disinformation. There's this chap in Pakistan, miles and miles and miles away from British politics, who's using AI to generate highly Islamophobic deep fake content about Keir Starmer. And there was an economic model behind it, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, what was going on there?
So the story is he was creating all this kind of fake content about Islamophobic content and so on. And this person, according to an interview that I saw, is Muslim himself, believer of God and so on. But he was making money and he needed the money. So apparently something like 1,500 per month on one of his posts, and all that paid by Meta. So
do you think that they know that they've built this business model for misinformation, and should they be doing something about this?
Right. This is a personal opinion. I'm not representing my institution. Let's go there first. I think they know. I think they know exactly what they are doing, because they have been called out many times and they didn't do anything about it.
Could they do something? How easy would it be to stop this, do you think?
I guess changing the business model a bit, first of all. Second of all, whenever people call them out saying, look, this is propagating, this is misinformation, take it down. Take it down.
Yeah.
It's easy. Someone already did the job for you. Someone went to lengths to verify that thing. You just need to take it down.
And this is purely from memory, but I believe that in Germany, the rules on this are very different, and they actually have to have human editors to review content. And that there is a lot less misinformation in Germany because of this. Surely that's the solution, isn't it?
Yeah, somehow, yes, there is a solution. But there is a lot of tools nowadays that you can use to automate the process a bit and, help humans to identify those cases of misinformation and so on. So one thing that people usually don't know as well, it happens with all this social media, is the very dirty content that is put there is actually already filtered out by humans. So they have a human looking into the very bad stuff. They also have some kind of AI to help them look into the very bad content and then trying to flag things for humans to look at. Actually, Meta had a kind of partnership with fact checkers, where they had like a dashboard showing to fact checkers some of the cases where their tool identified as potential misinformation. And although some fact checkers said that it wasn't very useful, it's still something that we could have improved on.
Yeah.
And improved on your partnership, improved on how to get those things down. So there are ways. There are many ways, mainly for multi-billionaire companies like those, to actually make your the content that we see online much safer, but
Why don't they do it then?
money.
Okay.
I mean, all these discussions. I was at the Cambridge Misinformation Summit. It was April time. This is an event, a very good event, by the way. They bring together everybody, basically. People looking at this information from different angles, including politicians. And one thing that I was kind of disappointed at the audience and the discussions in general was they seem to talk about the algorithm as this thing that it is the cause of our problems. It's not the algorithm. There is someone behind it. There is someone making a lot of money
Yeah.
of that algorithm.
Oh, it's as though, we've got this and we didn't make it. I mean, it's just got a life of its own. Somehow.
Yeah, and even people that are not on the social media side saying, "Oh yeah, we need to go against the algorithm." The algorithm is just a tool, and it strikes me that nobody is actually talking about the real problem. That is, just follow the money.
Yeah.
If you follow the money, you find who the person is.
Yeah. Because there was a moment, wasn't there, when they were forced, regulatory pressure was forcing them to fact check things, and then the US election happened, and all that went out the window. And it's a great pity. So, just to close out this, given what's happening with AI and the amount of content that it can now create, can reality actually survive this? There are millions of convincing videos and voices, and I've cloned my own voice. Are we just going to be outnumbered by all this stuff? What do you think is going to happen?
I'm quite optimistic, to be honest. I try to be, because otherwise we go a bit crazy. I think we're probably going to go a bit worse before it gets better. But I have a bit of faith in the new generation. So there are already kids that they look at it and say, "Oh, that's not for me." Yeah. They are way smarter than their parents. And they are just like, they basically don't go on Facebook. They don't go on Instagram anymore.
Yeah.
And they look at TikTok as something cute for making dance videos. And they are way more clued up on this kind of thing. So I think my hope is that the new generation is going to come a bit more literate on this kind of environment.
I think you're right. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I was in the car with my son, and I just read that the capture thing, which said, "Tell me where the bikes are, the cars, the buses, the traffic lights, the crossings," was being used essentially by Google to train its self-driving cars, and we were the slaves training the algorithm. And I was like fuming, going, all that nonsense that I've had to put up with capture.
Yeah.
And my son goes, "Yeah, I know." Like, he just knew.
Yeah.
He's in mid-20s now, but I think that there is some immunity that has been built.
Yeah.
And I think that's an excellent point, actually, that maybe my generation, the generation but the children that grew up with it seem to have developed immunity to it.
Yes, some kind of immunity for sure. I don't know if it's immunity. I don't know if it's just more awareness of how it works and like understanding a bit more. But it is really bizarre. And I think we are at a breaking point now with AI and stuff where people are talking about cognitive warfare.
Yeah.
Basically, where it doesn't matter what you say, you just flood the environment with so much content that people get paralyzed. They don't know what to believe, they don't know what to do, they don't know. And I think the fact that the new generation is stepping out of these environments is a good thing. And we shall see what's going to happen. I don't know. I have hope for them. I'm rooting for them.
that is a perfect place to pause on a positive note after all that negativity. It really is good. So in part two, we're going to move from the global problem to the local consequences. We'll explore what's happening inside South Yorkshire schools, why some teenagers are disappearing into algorithmic rabbit holes, why others are beginning to distrust reality itself, whether banning smartphones is the answer, how Finland has taken a completely different approach, whether artificial intelligence might ultimately become one of the most powerful tools we have for defending the truth. That was part one of my conversation with Dr. Carolina Scarton. If you've enjoyed this episode, please follow The Digital Forge on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube so you never miss an episode. And if you'd like to hear conversations like this, join live at The Digital Forge, where founders, researchers, investors, policymakers, and industrial leaders come together to explore the technologies shaping the future. You can find upcoming events and register at forgedforgrowth.com. And for more essays and commentary from myself on artificial intelligence, technology, work and society, subscribe to The Sunday Signal at thesundaysignal.ai. We'll see you in part two. Thank you.